Okay, so welcome to the talk. So let's start. Om Namah Sri Shankarananda Guru Padambujanmani Savilasa Mahamoho Graha Graseka Karmani Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punaha Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagini Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Namaha Om Shanti 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 Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. So, we are slowly and steadily progressing in our understanding of how, even though we are pure consciousness, even though we are Shuddha Brahma, we are trapped in this life of incompleteness, life of a lot of hazards, a lot of anxieties and complexes. A lot of people ask this question, isn't it? They would ask, so he studies Vedanta, he's so wise. Why is he behaving like this? What is the problem with him? No, we face this question. He's such a brilliant, nice, educated person. Why does he get angry? All of us behave in so many ways and we do so many things, and it appears that our identity is kind of limited by those activities, by those roles we play. And all these happen because of identification, because we forget who we are. And that is the message which Vedanta Panchadashi gives us in the first chapter, the Tattva Viveka. We are trying to sort of elaborate and then figure out actually what is the essential nature of ours. So he just mentions that one of the regions that we first had some understanding of what is the Vyashti, that is Taijasa, the Sukshma Sarira, and the collective level is called the Hiranyagarbha, the creative collective self. And similarly, in the Jagrata Avastha, in the waking state, all of us are called Vishwa. That same Tejasa, when it has identification with the Sthula Sansara, in which it's trying to negotiate terms, interact, it's called Vishwa. And the same thing collectively, when it has identification with the whole material universe, it's called Vaishwanara or Virat. And then he says, what happens to all of us individually? He's saying, look, we keep doing good and bad acts, and then we jump from one life to another. It gives us the example of one insect or some kind of a creature. Imagine a tiny creature which is floating on rushing or gushing stream of water in a river in spate, a flooding river. And this particular insect is too tiny, maybe a little bigger, let's imagine. Some kind of an insect, maybe a larger one, which you can see, otherwise it will not make any sense. This particular thing is moving from one whirlpool to another whirlpool in the river in spate, and it's not controlling its movement because it's a victim of the flooding river. So it's moving from one crisis to another, one threat to its life to another threat to its life. And I was giving the example of all our lives. We have one set of challenges, we overcome it in order to encounter, witness, and deal with another set of challenges. There is no freedom. Whatever we call freedom, or we think it feels like a respite, freedom is essentially a small gap. And that sets the condition for the next challenge that you are to face in life. And when we approach old days, of course, it becomes so obvious because your health becomes more and more uncertain. You have one issue today, you have another issue tomorrow. That's how we progress. Now, what happens to that person? He fine morning, let's imagine that he makes a lot of money and then he calls it a day. He says, okay, I'm doing voluntary retirement. Then he has invested enough money, he goes and relaxes. He says, rest of my time, I'm going to travel, I'm going to write, I'm going to lead a life of my choice, because he has the basic financial freedom, or at least he knows how to deal with it. He has the basic minimum needs. He leaves everything behind and he goes forward. I met a very interesting character in Mumbai, roughly maybe about 18, 19 years back. I had gone there for darshan in the Juhu Iskon temple. And then I found a guy. He appeared to be from South Orissa, Berhampur. I could figure it out from his accent. And then I started speaking to him. I said, how did you land up in this temple? What are you doing? He said, no, I was working. I was in the diamond cutting industry. And I was working. I was an accountant. And I used to switch jobs. The money I used to get wasn't enough to give me a great life. I used to work for about 10, 12 hours. Then, you have 2 hours of train travel in the morning and in the evening. You're sharing a room with about another 10 or 8 guys. It's very expensive. And you're just eating something outside. There's no space to cook or anything. Early morning, again, you are up, you change your dress and you take a quick bath and you are rushing to the railway station to pick up your local train to reach your destination, to work, and then come back again at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night. And then that guy was very cruel. He was not very well behaved. He didn't treat the workers with respect, even though I was an accountant. One fine morning, I called it a day because I had come to ISKCON. I had decided, why not work for God? And that's how I left my job. I'm here. I'm a volunteer. I work for the temple. And I have a sense of peace. I don't have a sense of harassment or that I'm being troubled, I'm being tortured. I don't have any of these feelings anymore. Irrespective of what is the outcome of that decision in the long term, at that moment he was kind of feeling at peace with himself. He was at peace with himself because he thought he had sort of addressed the basic contradiction in his life, where he did not control the life conditions that he was subjected as a result of his own work choice. It's a very hard life. Now, this particular insect similarly is jumping from one whirlpool to another, and then there is a kind person who suddenly watches this insect, picks it up, and leaves it below a tree on the banks of the river. And the insect is pretty happy. It's relaxing, breathing peacefully. Oh my God, where was I? What was my life like? Why the hell was I there? What I was doing there? There are many odd jobs that we do at different points of our life. And when we get out of it, we feel great amount of relaxation. Similarly, when a person is lifted out of this conundrum called life, and this life is called life because we do not figure out, is there a way out of it? And that way out of it, like a person picks up that insect and releases it on the grass below a tree, and then the insect relaxes below the shade in the tree, breathes peacefully. Similarly, when one of us struggling thus meets an enlightened soul who leads us to a proper self-understanding, we are at peace with ourselves. Sometimes we pay money, we go to counselors, we go to psychiatrists, we go to psychologists, and they charge you for whatever time they give you. If he's one of these kind-hearted, pro bono kind of a counselor who listens to you, he cannot entertain too many people. Sometimes they do. So they listen to your story, and if he's a real good counselor, he helps you figure out is a coach or is a mentor or is a counselor. He helps you figure out very quickly what is your next destination and which way you should proceed. He doesn't solve all your problems. In fact, he helps you to choose a new problem. Look at it. That is the real challenge. That is the trick here. So what he mentions as we move forward, kurvate karma bhogaya karmam kartum cha bhunjate. You do work and then you have a body and you consume things. Nadyam kita iva avartat avartantaram yasute vrajanto janmano janma lavante naiva nibritim. We travel from one life to another. We have dealt with the story of that insect which is floating on water, gushing stream of water in a flooding river. But then on one fine morning, as a result of his good luck is nothing but our good punya karmas. We encash. One fine morning, somebody tells us that you can encash it because, you have done a lot of good thing, and so now you can encash your good deeds. So what happens? You are very happy because you have got your money back. Satkarma paripaka te karuna nidhano dhrita. Somebody who is a karuna nidhi, is an abode of compassion and kindness. He comes and picks him up. Prapya tiruchayayam vishramyanti yata sukham. This is the drishtanta, the example. The way he relaxes, similarly, upadesam abapyevam acharya tattva. Similarly, in this life, we don't need to look for a magician or an occult guy or somebody who's a politician or somebody who's a quack. There are so many kinds of people masquerading as people who can show you the way ahead. You should go to an acharya, somebody who actually is well trained in the secrets about liberation. There are so many schools, by the way. If you're a Christian, you're going to go to a church father or a pastor, or there are many independent Christian counselors. You're a Buddhist, you'll go to a Buddhist monk. You're a Jain, you're going to go to a Jain monk. You're a New Age guy, so you'll go to some counselor, somebody who gives a talk. You might scan the YouTube for different kind of talks. But at the end of the day, if you actually meet somebody who is compassionate, who has love and empathy for you, wants to lift you out of the precarious situation where you find yourself, and then he's not telling you a lie, he's going by the tradition of knowledge and realization, picks up from the Upanishads, the deeper insights, unravels the secret, and tells you, do you know? This is how it is. Remember your school days when one fine morning you have been struggling with one trigonometric problem, and you're doing several times, you're trying to do it, LHS is equal to RHS, you are not being able to reach. There's no solution. And then there is one senior who watches you, suddenly comes close to you. What happened? What are you doing for so long here? You are sitting on the playground, imagine, and you're trying to solve it. He watches you from a distance and he comes to you and he says, what's going on? He says, I'm struggling with this particular problem. What is that? Trigonometry. Okay, show it to me. You give your workbook to that senior, looks at it, and he says, oh, why are you trying to break it here? Why didn't you break it there? You break it there. And then you see how it moves. And in three, 4 steps, LHS reaches RHS. You reach it. You are able to establish it, solve the problem. You feel relieved. I could do it, but why I couldn't see that way out of the problem that I was facing? The Acharya Tattva Darshinaha. You need to have the benefit of counseling by somebody who is trained in the Shastras, and then he knows the truth. He's a Tattvadarshi. He's not confusing the Swarupa of who we are with our job, with our money, with our identity. He's not telling you go to the zip. He's not going to tell you wear good dresses. That's what a lot of these advisors on YouTube do. You know, it's how you dress is very important. How you look is very important. How you manage your money is very important. Your investments, your health. They give all kinds of advices. The Tattvadarshi is not going to do that. He says, do you know what? These are the domains in which you have been looking for you. In the domain of body, you need good dress. You need to look handsome. How to reverse your age internally. How to reverse your diabetes, your heart problem. How you reverse your heart disease. And there are a lot of people who will give you, this is the dietary regime and this is how you should do some exercise. This is kind of food you eat. And then you will be fine. You'll move forward. You'll be great. They'll give you wonderful advice. So there are lots of people who will throw lots of advice on you. Somebody says, you know what? You need to, how long you walk in the morning? For 5 kilometers. Oh, really? That's very good. Do you do a bit of jogging? Do you do a cardiovascular exercises? Oh, no. You should do aerobatics. No, don't go to the gym. It's not good. A lot of bodybuilders are dying of heart attacks. Just do light aerobics and yoga. Somebody else then comes, yeah, fine, gymming is fine, but why don't you try Vipassana? You need to do that meditation. It's great. You need to pacify yourself. You got some problem in your marriage? A partner who is very problematic? Do you have a problem of loneliness? Because he's a counselor. He's looking for people. He's looking for business. Then you go and join him. He charges money. He says, I have a 4-day course. I have past life regression. I can connect you. I'll help you recover your childhood innocence and purity and energy. Like to try that? You say, yeah, why not? He gauges you. You got money. You got time. You got a problem. And if you don't have a problem, he finds a problem with you. And then you're part of it. He says it's all about how good you're feeling emotionally. And somebody says, what the hell are you talking about? You're not reading anything. You need to read a lot of philosophy. Why you join a course? Do a good degree. Rite Jnanam na Kaivalyam. He confuses it a little, twists it. That jnana is Swarupa jnana. It's not about knowledge of any books or anything. That's Aparavidya, lower order of knowledge. When knowledge is about knowledge of something, that's not the knowledge that's going to lift us to Swarupa, to liberation. That's going to make us stick around at a particular level. Another attachment, another entanglement. But he'll tell you, because he is focused on the intellect aspect. And somebody says, yeah, it's all nonsense. I'll tell you what is the practice of yoga nidra. You can relax. You don't have to look at your emotions. You go beyond all that. Let me tell you one thing. All of them are, in fact, giving you some very relevant advice. But the real advice is to find a way to go beyond these domains of existence. They are, in fact, referring to different seats or koshas or scabbards, as they say, where you put your sword. Right? That container in which you hide your sword, or you put your knife. It's a kosha, it's a seat with hides. That's why it's called kosha. We'll go that. He's saying, look here, pancha kosha vivekena lavante nibritim param. The ultimate liberation doesn't lie in having a good relationship, having another friendship, going to or becoming a member, paying subscription to some kind of a app where you can meet a partner or a friend, going to a nightclub, or drinking or taking some food, some Ayurvedic retreat, good physical exercise. None of these. He says, no, you need to understand that in fact your ultimate liberation is not going to be possible in any of these seeds or domains of existence. We have to go beyond it. And that is the challenge. Therefore, he's saying, Upadesam abapyevam, only by getting real advice from an acharya, a preceptor, who is a tattvadarshi, who knows what is it. Panchakosha vivekena, but he doesn't show it to you directly. He tells you have to go step by step. Now here, because we are now going to the Panchakoshas, there is a beautiful story in Taittiriya Upanishad, the Bhruguvalli. Bhrugu goes to his father, Varuna, and he asks him a question. And he says, please tell me, what is this Atma? And when he is asked this question, he says, why didn't you go and properly meditate? That from which all of us are here, that with the help of which we survive, that way we go and get dissolved. After the course of events we name as our life is Brahman, which creates us, which sustains us, and where we go, that is the final abode of our existence, that is Brahman. You go and meditate. And Bhrigu goes and meditates. And he slowly graduates from one level of existence to another. And finally, he finds that the Parabrahma is beyond all these seeds. So we'll go there. So this is he goes there to his father. The line goes like this. Bhugurve barunihi barunam pitaram upasasara. The son goes to the father. Adhi vagabo brahmeti. Tell me, what is the Brahman? What is it all about? Tasmai etat pravacha. And then he tells them, Annam pranam chakshu sutram mano vachamiti. And he's saying, Tangha ovacha yatova imani bhutani jayante, from which all these animals and birds and plants, they are born. Yena jatani jivanti. All of us that are born, we sustain ourselves with the help of something. Yat prayanti samvisanti, and where we, after we death, we go and we get dissolved there. Tad vijignyasasva, know that. Tad brahma hiti, that is Brahman. Sa tapo atapyata, so then Bhrigu goes and meditates on it. Sa tapas taptva, then what happens? The process of meditation starts. Process of meditation. What is that out of which we emerge? What is that with the help of which you live? What is that where we go and dissolve ourselves? The process of meditation. That process is called Panchakosha Viveka. That is how he is mentioning Upadesam avapyevam acharya tattvadarshinaha panchakosha vivekena labhante nibritim paraham. I think the tika I had not done, so let's quickly look at it. Evam uktena prakarena, by this the way it's mentioned, purva uparjita punya karma paripaka vasad eva. How do you make this counselor where from he comes? You know, you must have met this kind of a situation even earlier, right? Just imagine you're at the airport and you have a boarding pass and you went somewhere to have a coffee and you dropped your boarding pass, then it's a big international airport. When you're going to board and then you're looking for your boarding pass, you don't have it. And then you don't have it. You just go to the final point where you're going to boarding point and he says, where's your boarding pass? I've dropped it somewhere. Is he going to let you in? Depends on his mercy. He may not. Imagine if somebody says, yeah, I have your boarding pass, or somebody tells you that, okay, just wait, I'm going to help you. How relieved do you feel? Exactly. Evam uktena prakarena purva uparjita punya karma paripakavasad. You have done some good deeds, like you have helped somebody in need, somebody in great distress, and God is watching us overhead and quietly notes down all our good deeds and bad deeds. It never goes any good deed unrewarded. That is a good reassurance. All the texts say this. Not one good action goes waste. It comes back. God always returns that with interest. Sometimes even our bad deeds, the punishments are also meted out to us with interest. So he's saying the purva uparjita punya karma paripaga vasad eva tattvadarshina. He meets that compassionate, kind, well-meaning counselor. Pratyag avinna brahma sakshatkaravatah. Tattvadarshina means what? Pratyag avinna. Who knows that? Who is a tattvadarshi? He knows that we are not different from that param brahma. Pratyag avinna brahma sakshatkaravatah. He knows aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi. He has that realization. This whole universe is one pure whole of pure consciousness. All of us are part of it. We are no different. We are that one thing. And therefore, you are relishing that sense of unity and fullness. And there is no incompleteness, no loneliness, no frustration, and no anxiety as a result of that realization. It's easy to read, but it's much difficult to actually realize it. It's a mystical experience, so to say. Pratyek avinna brahma sakshatkaravatah acharyat guruho. Who is he? He's his guru, the guy who destroys darkness. Sakasad upadesham. From him he gets a particular word of counsel. What is that? Tattvamasi. You are that. You are a jivatma. You are a limited being. And then the advice is, you are that. You are Brahman. Really? How does it work out? I am alpagya. Bhagavan is sarvagya. I am kinchit gya. I know a little. He is sarvagya. And I am kinchit kalasthaya. I am here for a while. And he is nitya. Is all the time there. Is eternal. How can I be equated with him? Then the Guru explains. Yeah, that's true. The space inside a small pot is no different from the grand universal space of this whole cosmos. Oh, really? Yeah, you're no different. The water droplet is limited, water bubble is insecure so far as it doesn't realize it is the ocean. The moment the water bubble realizes, I'm the ocean, it's not scared that the bubble is going to burst someday. Yeah, it will. I'll remain the ocean. There's no problem. Tattvamasadi vakyartha jnana sadhanam shravanam. So he says this and he helps him. How do you get that Atmajnana? You have to go through a method, and that is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. You will hear it, you will do Artha Nirupana, then you will meditate on the meaning of it, and then you'll remove contrarian interpretations which might mislead you. Galat rasta mein nahi jana. Don't go on the wrong path of interpretation. Shravanam Bhakshamanam Avapya Sampadya. When you get it, Panchakosha Vivekena Annadinam Panchanam Koshanam. You have Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. These are the 5 koshas, and we'll discuss them. You transcend, you realize I'm none of these. I'm going to go beyond that. Koshanang Vivekena means you do vichara. Viveka is always separation, analysis. Bhakshamana vivechanena parang nivritim. What is that nivritti? You can get released. You have a recess during class hours, examinations. They give you 5 minutes, buy a break. That's not moksha. That is not paranivritti. Param nivritti. Ultimate. Moksha sukham lavante prapnuvanti. They get it. Te ke annadeya panchakosha iti akankshayan tan upadishati. Now the student, all of us, may have in our minds, would you please tell us what are these panchakoshas? Because you are talking about panchakosha viveka, so we must have the name of these panchakoshas, their functions, the nomenclature, their functions, their properties or character. How do you make sense of them? He's advising us. Annam prano mano buddhir anandascheti panchate koshe ste abrita swatma vismritya sangstrutim brajed. So these are the names of the 5 seeds, the scapules. Annam, that is the first name of the first kosha, first seed. Pranaha, second one. Manaha, the third. Manomaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Annamaya kosha. Buddhihi, that is Vijnanamaya kosha. Anandascha iti, Anandaha cha iti, Anandamaya kosha. Iti panchate, they are 5 in number. Done. Names are given, numbers are given. Kosehi tehi abritaha. So what is the problem with these koshas? They do not reveal what we are. They hide us. They don't reveal our Swarupa. So you join a service, so they appoint you. Okay, you are a programmer. After some time, you are a senior manager, a junior manager, assistant. Different positions are assigned to you and different JDs, job descriptions, and responsibilities and powers. Are you any of these? And then one fine morning, what happens? You decide to do a PhD in a completely different subject. There is a joke Swami Tejomayananda of Chinmaya Mission used to make all the time. One fine morning, father was very depressed and he goes to the professor and says, "Can you help me? My son's future is in ruins." Really? What did he do? What's wrong with him? Then the father is in tears and he says, "My son, I wanted him to be an engineer, but he has decided to do a PhD in archaeology. So he's going to deal with ruins, the broken structures, excavation, and stuff like that. Whatever is in ruins. So he has chosen a career in ruins." Very frustrating for the father. One fine morning, you decide you want to work on literature, you want to do a PhD in pure physics or cosmology, something not very immediately applied science. Then you are free from all these hassles of life. You're going to be in a library and sit, and you'll be in academics. Some people might think you're completely mad and useless, but then you're realizing that life. You leave all this and you go. So that's Swarupa, because that hidden Swarupa of yours as a creative, thinking person was not getting a chance to express itself when you are a very smart software engineer or a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer. But then you suddenly discovered that, no, I'm better off in an university. I want to get into the research mode. Fine, that's your choice. Like there are physicians, there are a lot of doctors in India who prefer to be in corporate hospitals. But then there are ones who would like to do research and they're sitting in AIMS where actually they don't get enough money and they cannot do any private practice. Why do they choose to be there? They get a different kind of kick. So kosi abritaha swatma, your swarupa, your essential nature. And then you forget what it is. You don't know what you are. And then you are assuming. There's a beautiful book by Jean-Paul Sartre called Nascia. And there is one story he gives. He uses a word called bad faith. I personally think that existentialism is very close to Vedantic, self-reflection. So Jean-Paul Sartre, I'm not saying that he was kind of influenced by Vedanta, but the word bad faith in existentialism is very close to what we call tadatmya adhyasa. What is bad faith? So there is this guy who is serving, he's a bartender or something. He behaves like a clown. He entertains people, and people are laughing and enjoying it. And he believes that his potential can be fulfilled if he behaves like the best possible clown. And Sartre says that is a good example of bad faith. You are living in a toxic relationship with somebody, and that fellow is abusive, narcissistic, manipulator, and you are a victim. You are a kind of a codependent person. You are trying to adjust to his emotional manipulation. You think that you are helping that person. You are actually being abused. Bad faith. There's a particular set of things in the office, and the boss gives you a little importance, and you're running around to fix these small things. But you don't realize what gives you real inner happiness, bad faith. These are all because of tadatmya adhyasa. There is no time in our lives to sit back, relax, and meditate on what it is all about. Why are we doing all this? I'm just not trying to take the stoic position. No, it's not about that. It's in fact a very unyielding aspirational role you're assigning yourself to look for yourself. And he's saying that when we are not able to remember our Swarupa, who we are, then we're jumping from one set of roles to another set of roles, one job to another job, one task to another task. We are not going to find ourselves in any of these unless we are self-aware and we are doing. If you're doing nishkama karma and all, no problem. You are in yourself. Otherwise, there's a problem. That is why he's saying, Kosei tei abrataha swatma vishmritya, because it doesn't remember what it is. Then what happens to it? Sansritim vrache. It doesn't have that prativijna, it doesn't have that swarupa jnana. Therefore, he is jumping from one life to another, one assignment to another, one relationship to another. Annam prana iti, annam prano mano buddhir anandasya iti panchakoshaha. These are the 5 seeds. Buddhir vijnanam. Buddhir is that vijnanamaya kosha. Tesam annadinam, that means tesam of these. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha, tesam, annadinam, that means of these 5 koshas, kosha sabda avideyatve karanam aha. Why are you using the word kosha? Tehi kosehi abritaha. By these 5 koshas, the Atma is kind of hidden. Our physical frame is not who we are. Our mind is not who we are. Our intellect is not who we are. Our Swarupa is beyond our body, our dynamic activities, our pranamaya kosha, our manamaya kosha, our vijnanamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha. Panchakoshatitaha avastatraya shakshi. Ayam atama. It's beyond, it's the witness of all this. Tehi koshehi abritaha. Abritaha means achaditaha. It's covered. Swatma, Swarupa Bhuta, that is our essential nature. Atma, Vismritya, Swarupa Vismaranina. You forget what you are. You don't realize what you are. Then what? You're doing odd jobs and you're ready to take up any assignment. And this is somebody who was recently, a senior friend of mine called me up, and he's a very renowned professor of English literature in Central University. And he calls me up and he says, what do you say that somebody is publishing some journal in political science? He's a man of literature, very established writer. And then that friend says, why don't you become one of the editors of this journal? It's something called peace, conflict, whatever, strategic, some diplomacy or some kind of international relations. Because he's a professor in that subject. He says, why don't you become a journalist, an international journal? I said, what do you get out of it? Are they going to pay you anything? So they'll be forcing you to do a lot of donkey work, editing or rewriting some papers which will be submitted, wasting your time. But that's not your genre. I mean, that's not your domain. That's not the area of your expertise. You're not going to feel fulfilled. It's much better if you become an editor in a national journal of creative writing or literature, and that's fine. There is where you're going to excel. You're going to contribute to the quality of the papers published there. Why should you be editing a paper on diplomacy or international relations? That's not your expertise. But then you have this identity, right? Somebody is going to say he's one of our editors, and you might take it up. we take up a lot of assignments in our lives, which have nothing to do with our Swarupa, what gives us happiness, what gives us pleasure, right? But these things can happen. These Panchakoshas we identify, and we cannot look beyond these 5 seats, 5 domains of our existence. Therefore, we are trapped in different roles, different activities, one life and another life. Jananadi pratirupam sansaram braje. So we have one human life, then another human life, and spastam is very simple. Kosha yatha koshakara krimehi avarakattvena klesha hetuhu. He gives another terrific example. Do you know the silkworm, right? We have discussed that earlier. The silkworm weaves that particular shell, and what happens? It gets trapped. What is the destiny? At the end of the day, all these cells are taken, boiled in hot water. All the insects are killed, and the yarn is extracted. Then you have silk saris and dresses and everything. Silk fabric is produced out of that. You are rewarded with a terrible death for all the hard work you have done. He's saying, Koshakara krimehi avarakattvena klesha hetuhu. Be careful about these koshas. That which unravels. Jesus says a beautiful thing in Bible. He says, truth is liberating. That which doesn't tell us the truth, which hides, which covers it up, is going to punish us with unfreedom, with a state of being imprisoned. Avaragattvena klesha hetu evam annadayaha api. All these seeds have a good body, good physical body, and then you are stuck with that body consciousness. This is the age of body consciousness. Everybody wants to look younger and younger. No, we are all about how the body looks. We have forgotten who we are. Annadaya api advayananda tvadi avarakattvena, because all these body consciousness, then you have physical exercise and your dynamism, that kind of a consciousness. Then you have that you need to have a good emotional state of being, that kind of an identification. Or you need to study, you will be great intellectual, that kind of an identification. All these are not leading us to self-realization, because we are not even trying to figure out who we are. We are at different inferior levels. These are necessary, not sufficient for self-knowledge. We have to pass through these, make use of these koshas, but go beyond this. Advayanandatvadi avarakattvena, because it hides that self-awareness, that wisdom, that enlightenment. Therefore, atmanaha klesha hetutvat, and therefore it troubles all of us. Koshaha, that's why they are called seeds, scabbards. Iti uchyante iti arthaha. Let's go to the next one. Now he's going to start with the 5 koshas and how they are made. Let's first look at the verse number 34. Tesam koshanam swarupani kramena vitpadayati. Now the teacher in this text is going to unravel to us what is the nature of these 5 seeds. Syat panchikrita bhutatho deha stulurna sangyakaha ingetu rajasehi pranihi pranaha karmendriyehi saha panchikrita bhutatho. So you see, the first thing starts that we have apanchikrita mahabhuta and you have panchikrita mahabhuta. We have already discussed that from these apanchikrita mahabhuta, we have the jnanendriyas and you have the karmendriyas, which are born. The physical body is made out of the panchikrita mahabhuta, which is panchabhuta, the sthula bhutas. Because you look at the body, it has some temperature, it has the power to touch, it has some smell, it has some air, it has some fire, and it has this material sheath. Okay, so therefore it's explained that this is how the Annamaya Kosha is made out of what? The Tamasika Ansa of the Panchabhuta, right? And then we have so the shloka goes like this: Annam prana manobuddhir anandasya panchate koshe te abrita swatma vishmritya sanskrutim braje. So we have done this. You know why this word mana is used? Manas. Manyate anena iti manaha. Okay? Because we think about it. We do vichara. Whether buddhyate anaya iti buddhihi. You do vichara. Therefore it's called buddhi. Okay? And then in the next one is mentioning Panchikrita bhutatho stula anna sangyakaha dehaha stula syat. The physical scene, Annamaya Kosha. Born out of the Panchikrita Panchabhuta. Panchikrita Bhutatho. Emerging out of these Panchabhutas, Stula Anna Sangyakaha. This is not Sukshma, it's physically visible. You can touch it, you can test its temperature, you can smell it. Stula Bhuta Sangyakaha Dehaha. This is physical body. Stula Anna Sangyakaha. This is what is called the Annamaya Kosha. What is it called? Deha. Diha upachaye dhatoho. Yai pratyo gune deha siddhyati. So dihi upachaye, that which spreads, expands, right? Gets enlarged. That's why it's called deha. You know, jayate asti vardhate viparanimate apakshayate vinashyati. This is how this sort of vikaras, any physical thing that happens. It has a moment of birth and then it stabilizes, then it expands, right? Then it slowly, you know, first you have length and then you have lateral expansion. You become a little fat, you lose your hair, the skin tone sort of gets degraded and slowly apakshayate vinasyati ultimately. He's saying Linge tu rajasaihi pranehi karmandrihi aha prana bhavati. And then a little above, part of the sukshma sarira, the sthula sarira annamaya kosha, then you have the pranamaya kosha. Out of the mahabhutas, not panchikrita, apanchikrita mahabhutas, in the rajasikangsha. This body, physical body, is out of the tamasikangsha. Then he's saying linge tu, that means in linga sarire, rajasehi pranehi. You have prana, pana, vyano, dana, samana, pancha pranas are there. And then you have the karma indriyahi, vak, pani, pada, payu, upastha. You have these 5 karma indriyas. Ability to speak, pani, hands, pada, legs, payu, you know, and upastha. The payu is that when you flush out excess or urine or stool or whatever. And then the indriyas we have for procreative activity, upastha, right? So the sexual organs, these are the karma indriyas. And you have the pancha pranas. Together, these 10 elements, they constitute the pranamaya kosha. The pranamaya kosha is integrated with the physical seeds, which is the annamaya kosha. But remember, the pranamaya kosha is part of the sukshma sarira because it travels. You say, how do you say it travels? Because we are not talking about the physical frame, we're not talking about pranamaya kosha. Okay? That's why we say the person is dead because the life force has left him, abandoned him. So linge tu rajase pranahi karmendrehi saha prana bhavati. That is called the pranamaya kosha. So if you look at the commentary, it explains it in simple terms. Let's go to the commentary. He's saying Syat panchikrita ityadina. When we say Syat panchikrita, panchikrita syat, it's saying this, it happens. Modadi vrittivihi iti antena sardha sloka dvayena. So it will start here, then we'll have 2.5 slokas till the Anandamaya portion. Panchakritebhyo bhutebhyo. You have the panchikrita, means you remember panchakarana. So you have 50% of Akasha and 12.5% of the other four Bhutas, that is the Panchakrita Akasha. That is the Sthula Akasha. Panchakritebhyo Bhutebhyo Utpannaha, which is made, produced, which emerges. Sthula Deha Anna Sangyakaha. This Sthula Deha, physical body, is called Annamaya Kosha. Anna Sangyakaha. That means this is the name given to us. Annamaya Savditaha Koshaha Syat. This physical body is called the Annamaya Koshaha. Then what about the pranas? Pranas tu pranamaya koshas tu. When you say prana, you are referring to pranamaya kosha. You are not repeating it. It's like there's a red horse, and you say the red one is running. Red is coming. No, it's a red horse. It's not the red. Similarly, saying pranas tu means pranamaya koshas tu. Linga sarire vartamani rajasehi. In the linga sarira, you have those rajasic forces. You have trigunatmika maya, right? Avidya, trigunatmika. The principles of stress and activity, motion, activity, all that. The domain of a bit of tension and activity, that is the Rajasika self. So he's saying, Vartamani Rajasehi Rajoguna Karya Bhute. The Rajoguna Karya Bhute means you have Trigunatmika Maya, and then you have these Panchabhutas, Mahabhutas, which are Sukshma, and that is out of Mayas, the tamasika thing, and out of it he's saying that of these Mahabhutas, you look at these Rajasika energies. Sattvika is the Indriyas, Gyanendriyas, right? Gyanendriyas made out of the Panchabhutas, Sukshma, and the Gyanendriyas are born out of it. The Sattvika Angsha. Out of the Rajasika Angsha, you have the Karmendriyas, you have also Panchapranas. Rajoguna Karya Bhutehi Pranehi Pranapanadi. Pranapana means Pranapana, Vyanodana, Samana, all these five vayus that we have already discussed. Vihi, Panchavihi, Bhagadivihi. Then you add the Panchakarmendriyas, Bhak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Pasta. So, Panchavihi, Bhagadivihi, Vag Adivihi, Bhak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Pasta, all the five. Karmendriya Saha, Dasavihi, Syat. That means that with all these 10 elements, 5 pranas and 5 karmendriyas, you have the pranamaya kosha, right? That helps you move around. And I tell you why they are relevant. There'll be a meditation. I'll go back to that dialogue between Phrugu and Varuna, and we'll have a discussion on it. And then let's go to the, you know what? It's very interesting. And Phrugu was advised by his father, please meditate on the self. We'll go to that. Let's first finish the 35th sloka. Satvike dhi indriyahi sakam vimarsatma manomayaha tere vasakam vijnana mayodhir nischayatmika. So another 2 cells is covering in this sloka. Satvike dhi indriyahi. Break all these words and it's very easy to understand. Dhi means what? Jnanendriyahi. The sense organs, right? Sattvikehi, and the Jnanendriyas are out of the Sattvika Angshas. Sattvikehi, Jnanendriyahi, Sakam, Sardam, with Saha. So with these 5 Jnanendriyas, Vimarshatma Manomayaha. What is that Vimarshatma? What is the meaning of the word Vimarsha? Like in Kashmir Shaivism, Vimarsha is self-awareness. Whereas Vimarsha here is about, Vimarsha is Vimushyate iti Vimarsha. You do Vichara, Vichara iti yavat. Sansaya Vimarsha bhavati iti uktam sansayatmaka iti. Vimarsha here means that which is kind of not nishchayatmika. You have this or that. You have an emotional thing. You're thinking about this. Should I do it? The best way to understand what is the work of mind at the manas is to look at a child. And try doing this. If you have any grandchild, nephew, niece, whatever, who is less than 2 years of age, it's going to work wonderfully well. So you go and give him some gift. Okay? Then you hold another attractive doll. He'll throw it and he'll want this one. You sow something else. And then his elder brother or elder sister comes and opens a book. Then he throws that doll and disturbs the elder sibling, says, I want to read the book. He cannot read. He wants to hold it. The manas is only playing out. His buddhi has not developed. His mind is only at the manomaya kosha. That vijnanamaya kosha is not very developed. But he has a mind. And is moved by his likes and dislikes. His past predilections, maybe past sanskaras, whatever he likes. You show him something red, he wants to get hold of it. He has a mind. There is consciousness. But the active energy which you find in a baby, which is a little bigger than, say, 6-8 months, and then less than 2 years, is largely manomaya kosha. Not too much of vichara. It's only vimarsha. That is what he's saying. So vimarshatma manomayaha, that is called the manomaya kosha. That means 5 jnanendriyas plus manas. That is called manomaya kosha. So why are you calling it manomaya kosha? Because the 5 jnanendriyas are common to the vijnanamaya kosha as well as the manomaya kosha. Because whenever we are thinking about anything, we are taking help of these 5 jnanendriyas. In order to choose or reject or accept or to do vichara, we are making use of these 5 jnanendriyas, so they are always at our service. When the intellect is the prime mover, we call it the vijnanamaya kosha, because we are thoughtful, we are deliberative. Vijnanamaya kosha is the deliberative self that you are. Manomaya kosha is that one which is choosing likes and dislikes. Is that particular kosha where a Buddhist will say the domain of craving. I like it, I don't like it. It is the craving self, manomaya kosha, vimarshatma. All the time saying, this is good? No, that is good. Vimarshatma manomayaha tehi eva sakam. Tehi here, you have to connect with the satvikehi dhindrehi. Tehi, with them. Okay, obviously Jnani is not repeating it, it's just using the word tehi, with them. Tehi eva sakam, with these 5, same, vijnanamayaha. It's called vijnanamaya. Then what are you adding there? Buddhi. Dhi nishayatmika. That is dhi, that is vijnanamaya kosha. It's called when you are adding sakam dhihi. Jnanahi sakam dhihi vijnanamaya. Dhihi nishayatmika dhihi vijnanamaya kosha bhavati. It becomes vijnanamaya kosha. What is common to both of them? You have the 5 jnanendriyas. And here, craving self, I like it, I don't like it. And you have your choosing. This is what is required, the vijnanamaya kosha. It's a bit of contemplative self, deliberative self. Okay. Let's look at the commentary and then we'll have a little discussion. We have a couple of minutes to go. Vimarshatma sansayatmakam panjabhuta sattva karyam yanamana uktam. Vimarshatma, that is what is the manas. Sansayatmakam, doubting, choosing, faltering, vacillating. Panchabhuta sattva karyam, out of the sattvic angsha, both manas and buddhi and all the jnanendriyas. Yanamana uktam tat sattvikehi pratyekam. All the sattvika energies in the pancha jnanendriyas. Bhuta sattva karya bhutehi. This pancha mahabhuta, the angsha, out of the sattvic angsha, all the jnanendriyas are born. Bhutehi, indriyehi, shrotadhivihi. So you have Shravana, your first Shravana, and then you have Sparsha, and then you Tvak, Tvagendriya, Sparsha, Savada, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasha, and Gandha. With these Anamatras, you have the Vishayas, then you have Sparsha, then you have the eyes, Chakshundriya, then you have the Rasanendriya, and you have the Ghanendriya. So he's saying Bhutendrihi, Sotradhivihi, Panchavihi, Jnanendrihi, with these 5 Jnanendriyas, organs, Sakam, with them, Sahitam Manomaya Koshaha Syaditi Purvena Sambandha. That will be called Manomaya Kosha. It's very clear, very simple to understand. End of the day, we're just doing nomenclature. So we'll do a bit of contemplation on these in the next class. So it's called Manomaya Kosha. And then what about Vijnanamaya Kosha? Somebody might ask us. Nishayatmika dhihi tesam eva सत्व कार्य रूपा बुद्धि ही तेहि एव पूर्वक्तैहि ज्ञानेन्द्रियैहि एव साकं सहिता सति विज्ञानमयाख्यः कोशः स्यात्. That Nishyatmika Buddhi, which is deliberative, which is not vacillating, which leads you towards some kind of a conclusive take on anything, that is called Buddhi. Sattva Karya Rupa, that is also Sattvika. Buddhi, Teiheva, all these 5 Jnanendriyas, so 5 Jnanendriyas plus Nishyatmika Buddhi, Sakam Sahita Sati, when it's together, it's called Vijnanamayakya. That is the name, Kosha Syat. That is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. We'll go forward to the Anandamaya Kosha in the next class, and please feel to send your questions, and I will take it up in the group. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankara